Welcome back, everybody. This is the Resistance broadcast. The base is open. We are here to talk about Star Wars. It is Thursday morning, which means it is 2 weeks from Star Wars Celebration. If you can believe that, we are 14 days away from getting all the mix of all the good things coming our way from a galaxy far, far away. We'll be in Chicago, will you? We hope to see you. But anyway, you're here with us now, so welcome back to the Resistance broadcast. I'm John Hoey. We are going to get into some good stuff. We have the Will of the Force, 5 topics coming at you. We also have our Patreon General Adam Odle hitting us with a Patreon pod race to split up our 2 discussions. And following that, you asked for it and you got it. We are doing a Resistance, that is the show, Star Wars Resistance Season 1 recap, a finale reaction, and a look forward ahead to Season 2 to see where this thing's going based on the events that transpired. So welcome back. We're glad you're with us. It is time to get into the mix here. So let's welcome in James and Lacey. Guys, welcome back. How's your week been going? Did you recover from our Monday episode with all the dabbing and all the craziness? What's up?
I'm tired. Just woke up.
That's how you sell energy on a podcast.
Is it
Come
Friday
see
yet?
our panel.
Yeah.
I think that everybody here is driving to work right now and going, it's not Friday. It's only Thursday.
Unless they're listening to it on a Friday.
I just want to let everybody know that I'm with them. I'm with you.
Uh-huh.
It's sad that it's Thursday.
Okay.
But I made this episode for you, so.
Ew.
How are you going to back that up, Gillerin?
Well, actually, I have some fun news.
What?
Well, not really news, but like news in my life.
Okay.
It has officially been 1 year that I've been on the podcast.
What?
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
Holy
1 year
cow.
of
She's
listening to me
lying.
talk about Star Wars. 1 year of talking about Kylo Ren. 1 year of loving being a part of this community. And I thank you guys.
Loving you.
And thank you guys for letting me do this. And I went back to listen to my first episode. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah.
And James talked about ice cream. And I believe we talked a lot about Obi-Wan Kenobi. But things haven't changed. Still love Star Wars, and I'm still here. So yeah.
And we're still talking about Kenobi. Well, Lacey, it has been a hell of a year.
Has
It
it?
has been a quick year.
Yeah,
So
it
just
has.
thinking back, we did what was we did the solo challenge, was one of your earlier things. Then
And I won.
You and I, well, you cheated. That's cool.
I didn't cheat.
You and I, so we saw Solo together,
Mhm.
and then we started planning about all the things we're doing ahead for Celebration, and now we're right up against Celebration, and the year just took off and flew
we
by.
have a panel.
You ate the sugar. You ate the
I
sugar.
ate the sugar. We went to New York
Ate the
Comic Con.
sugar.
We went to San Diego Comic
New York
Con.
Comic Con.
Hey, when was
yeah.
my 1 year on the... We never talked about that.
We didn't do my 1 year either.
Yeah.
Well, off
we would have been
camera,
like 2 weeks apart,
John thought it was adorable that I remembered.
Well, yeah.
You
No,
were
I
like,
agree.
oh, that's cute. And I
It
said,
is.
I know.
It is. What is today's date? The 28th?
Yeah, it was
I
actually
think
the
it's
26th, but because this is a airing 2 days after, it's technically a year.
I think this is close to my 2-year anniversary with Star Wars Newsnet.
Oh, yay. March is a
Yeah.
good month.
It is. It is. Good times.
How many years have I been podcasting?
No one cares, James. What's coming up next?
James,
6 years?
I think that you should take us down a little journey that we like to call the Will of the Force. And I think the first topic, everyone wants to know where we stand on this one, because we've brought this one back as we inch closer and closer to Celebration. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about in a minute. Cheer it!
I fear nothing, for all is as the Force wills it.
Will I take us on that journey, John? That's the first question.
I just can't wait for the
Everybody wants
episode
to
where
know
you
the
actually
answer for.
do replace cheer it with like a chicken.
Yeah.
Or something.
The first question this week is that it's based on a little pie bet that we have. Pies are on the line, so we gotta come back, and we gotta tackle this one more time. Here's the question: will the Kenobi series be announced at Star Wars Celebration in 2 weeks? And like 3 days, four days, because it's likely on Monday if it's going to happen.
Or Sunday.
James, why don't you, since you are the one that thinks it's not happening like this, you didn't think the series was happening for a while until the report. But since you're the detractor here from Lacey and I initially with the bet, what's your take?
All right. Well, okay. I gotta give it to you for reporting. You know what I mean? You're saying I have good confidence that this is happening. We're covering the story. This thing's happening. So whether I like the idea of a Kenobi movie or series happening, it's happening. So get used to it. Will they announce it at Star Wars Celebration? I think that they would. Given that it is happening, I think that it makes sense that this would be the place where they do it. But I actually think that John might have a different view on this, right?
Yeah, it's funny. The now that I got the confirmation that the series is gonna go down, I'm like, wait a minute, maybe they won't announce it yet though. So now I'm thinking they might not announce it at Celebration. So I'm going to do that thing where I convince myself that they're not, so that when it does happen, I'm even double excited to smash the crap out of your face with a pie. Yeah. So right now I'm going to say they're not going to announce it at Celebration. They're going to wait.
All right, Lacey. Split the vote here. He wants it to happen. He says it's not getting announced. I don't want it to happen. I say it is getting announced. What's happening? Raining cats and dogs living together.
You guys are
Mass
crazy.
hysteria.
You're very wishy-washy. I'm going to stick by my gut that they're going to announce this. They will announce this at Celebration. I think they're going to announce it either on Monday at the end of the Phantom Menace panel,
Which screws us up.
or Sunday at a TV panel.
Sunday? That would be perfect.
It would
my
be.
What's on Sunday?
A possible TV panel.
A possible TV panel. We'll get back with you on that when things get confirmed, right?
Man,
Supposedly
it's so
they're
funny.
having a TV panel on Sunday.
Okay. Well, I'm so nervous. I don't know.
That
Okay.
would be the best because we could actually pie James.
Dude,
Yeah.
we could do the pie.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait. We got to slow-mo shoot it too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one. So whether it's Benioff and Weiss or Rian Johnson or something else, will the next Star Wars movie after Episode 9 be announced at Celebration? Goodness. So this kind of is similar to the last one. We have a possibility of something big being announced at Celebration, and we have no idea how far into the future some of these things are. Benioff and Weiss and Rian Johnson. Lacey, I'm going to bounce back at you because I think you've gone on record saying that you think this is going to happen. But are we going to get a movie announcement at Celebration?
I'm going to say we will not. And the reasoning because they haven't announced the Episode 9 title. So that tells me that they want all the focus on Episode 9.
Smart lady. That's a good call. John, do you agree with that?
I was going to say that they will announce it because I remember Benioff and Weiss saying that the next thing they're going to work on after Game of Thrones is their movie. For
But Game
Star
of Thrones
Wars.
premieres that weekend. They probably don't want
but they're done working on it.
Yeah, but I don't know if HBO wants them immediately on to the next thing.
Yeah. It's interesting. I know I'm sticking with they're not going anywhere near Rian Johnson at Celebration, so that rules him out. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess your reasoning makes sense there. So I'm going to say they will not announce the next movie, but I think they have to announce the next Star Wars movie before Episode 9 comes out.
Yes.
For my reasoning that people are going to be like, so that's it? I can move on from Star Wars? No more
Yes.
movies?
They might do it at San Diego.
Or D23.
While they're still hitting up
D23.
the websites, while they're still following Star Wars Twitter accounts and stuff, they gotta, as soon as Episode 9 drops, and then there's,
Yeah. I think we're
people
getting
talking about it or whatever, then they're like, okay, well, I'm done with Star Wars now, so they like unfollow all those
I think
people or whatever.
it'll maybe at either San Diego or D23.
I would
they're
say
gonna be like
D23 if I was
they're going to be like late this winter or this fall or next spring we're filming this, and it'll be Benioff and Weiss because I still think that's going to be the first. And that'll be it. But yeah, I think it'll happen in 2019, but not at Celebration. Yeah.
Because at D23 in 2017, which was the last one because they switch off years, they announced the Jungle Cruise movie because The Rock's leaked it by himself on social. They had to confirm it. They showed footage from Mary Poppins a year in advance. They showed the Lion King footage a year in advance. They showed Wreck-It Ralph a year in advance. Like, I have no reason why they wouldn't say the next steps for us as part of Disney is this.
Yeah, I mean, Lacey, I think that was the best point that could be made about this, that they want to focus on Episode 9. I think that's absolutely right. Another thing to consider too is I feel like, remember the past celebrations where people were like, what was the big story? And it was like, they're bringing Thrawn back. You know what I mean? Like,
That was nuts. People lost it.
I know, but it's nuts, but it's also like, that was the big story. You know what I mean? That,
Well,
like,
Rogue One was the big story that year.
No, I understand, but I'm saying like,
No.
what else was announced that wasn't like,
It was
okay, you're getting too
It was Alden being Han Solo. That's what the big story out of that was.
whatever. My point is that is that oftentimes we look back at Celebration and go, what was actually the big announcement? And it's not very often that we're like, Friday, we got like 3 major things. Saturday was like boom, 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 like announcement after announcement after announcement. You know what I mean? And all this stuff we're all excited for. It's always the same stuff. It's like there's some books, there's like one big animation announcement maybe, and then like the movie is like the main thing, and then like maybe like one surprise thing. But I think that this falls into that category of like, people are like, oh, they're going to talk about Rian Johnson's trilogy, and they're going to tell us what it is. They're going to talk about Benioff and Weiss, and it's like, nope. I just think if you have that, you're just going to walk out of Celebration and go, you know what they didn't talk about? All the other movies, you know? I thought that this would have been the perfect place to, and then they didn't. You know, that's going to be the...
Yeah.
Well, maybe they'll show a tweet of Rian Johnson live, like confirming that he's still making his movies.
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, I think the big thing, too,
I don't doubt
is...
that they might talk about them, but not like...
Yeah.
The crowd's just like, boo! It's like, damn it.
Hey,
Again, if they didn't hold the title, I would be leaning towards, yes, they would definitely announce something. But because they've held the title, it just doesn't make sense.
All right.
Speaking of titles, our Patreons... our Patreons were asked, you know, hey, do you have any Will of Force questions? Patrons were asked, do you have any Will of Force questions? And Admiral Len Brown decided to send us one.
Len again.
Good one, so we're using it for the episode.
It is the week of Len.
The week of Len.
Len again. The question that he asked was, will Rey use the title of Jedi Knight in Episode 9? I'll go first. I think she will. Absolutely. Because it's one of those, like, you can't say it is, but it's that connection to Return of the Jedi. A Jedi Knight, you know what I mean? We haven't seen what happened between this movie and this movie, but in the meantime, something happened and she is now a Jedi Knight. John, you're looking very not happy with that answer.
No, I was just thinking of Han saying that, like, Jedi Knight. Like, I didn't even think those things existed 5 years ago.
Delusions of grandeur.
Yeah. No, I think so. I don't think she's going to be like, I'm Rey, I'm a Jedi Knight. But I think she's going to take on that level, that whatever that black belt is in Jedidom, which is being a Jedi Knight. Because she's going to read all her books and study up hard and learn her ways of the Force. And however many time has passed from 8 to 9. I like it. I think, especially Luke's thing saying I'm not going to be the last Jedi. I think that kind of cements it. So Jedi Knight Rey on the toys. Sounds good. Looks good. Like it. Jedi Knight lightsaber. Yeah, let's do it.
Lacey, tell us why we're wrong.
No, I'm like, I was thinking through the options and like, I feel like I'd love, going back to it again, bringing it up, Lord of the Rings, like where the character says, I am no man. Like, that's such a great moment. So, like, I'd love for her to, like, be fighting and be like, I am no Jedi. But, like, she's, like, really, really cool. But I just don't see that being a thing because Jedi itself, the word, holds so much power with what it is. So that's why I'm leaning towards, yes, she will go by Jedi. And I could see it being something where Kylo Ren refers to her as a Jedi.
Oh, that's good. Like, you think you're so special, a Jedi Knight.
Yeah, or like he calls her Jedi instead of like how she...
Oh, I like that.
He calls her Scavenger in the first movie. He could call her like a Jedi in the second movie. Or
he's downgrading because he was going to be a Jedi Knight and then he figured out that was stupid or whatever.
It could have like a bad taste in his mouth, but he doesn't want to call her Rey because he doesn't want to have that like connection with her anymore. So like he could just call her Jedi.
In The Force Awakens, she's a scavenger. In The Last Jedi, she's nothing. And in episode 9, she's a Jedi.
Yeah, exactly.
Way to get promoted, Rey.
So yeah, she will.
Like, but for the first time, she's like, dang right. She's all happy about it. All right, so there's your answer, Len. We all think, ding, 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 she's going to be a Jedi Knight in episode 9.
Way to go,
Next
Kylo
question
Len.
is... And to be honest, this next question is kind of an extension of Len's question. But let's assume that Rey has an apprentice at some point in episode 9. Will the term Padawan be used? Specifically, the term Padawan. Lacey, you get first dibs on this one. Are we going to be talking about Padawans and little Jedi?
To be clear, this is us. This is under the assumption that she will have an apprentice, so we have to paint that picture.
So are we talking at any point in the movie, or like we start off the movie and this is the case?
No, it's confirmed. Daisy Ridley just said in an interview, let's say, that she in fact will have some sort of apprentice or some sort of someone that she's teaching, right?
Then yes.
So we know that. Let's just assume that is
she will.
The case.
If we're guessing if she's going to have one, no. But if you're saying if that's what she'd refer to someone, if they were, then yes.
That's interesting.
John, it's a tricky question, but I think that if they went to the extent of having this person under there, why the heck not use that term? It seems to me that she's totally interested in reading those books. It seems like she's interested in learning the ways of the Jedi because she seems like Belle, sort of like the only person who would like, dig through the books and be interested in learning and growing and stuff like that. So I think that if that were the case, I absolutely think she would embrace that and she would call that person a Padawan. John, what are your thoughts?
You're both wrong.
I knew it. I should have saved that for John. Tell us why we're wrong.
I think the new way of the Jedi and learning, if you're doing post prequels, then you go to the original trilogy. Yoda never used that term. I think they kind of wanted to do away with the old way of the school of Jedi and the Padawan thing after everything that happened back then. And I don't think JJ likes those types of prequel terms. There's a reason why
because he did call it a school of Jedi, a bunch of young Jedi. Han Solo says that. He goes, he was training a new generation of Jedi. He doesn't say Padawans. A new generation of
Jedi. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, and that could have been just that could have also just been Han Solo not knowing the term. But I don't think.
Yeah, but I would say that too.
I don't think J.J. Abrams likes the prequel vernacular. We haven't heard him use midichlorians. I can't see him using the term Padawan. I think he would stay away from that. So for
he
that
wanted to
reason,
kill Jar Jar.
For JJ alone, I don't think the term Padawan will be used, even if Rey does have an apprentice.
I think like someone in college, like if you're like,
Boom.
oh, he teaches a class full of students, you might say that, but you also might say he teaches the next generation of teachers, you know, or something like that. So you're using the like future tense.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Han was doing. He's teaching a new generation of Jedi.
But either way,
I don't think he was.
They're not using.
But anyway,
yeah.
That's our answers. That's what we think. So we got one more, guys. This is the last Will of the Force, so we can move on to the discussion section, or at least the Patreon pod race before that happens. Our last Will of the Force question is, will events in Star Wars Resistance's entire run take place before the events of Episode 9? So in other words, Episode 9 comes and goes, but Resistance serves primarily as a prequel of sorts. Season 2, Season 3, Season 4, all taking place before chronological Episode 9 happens. John, you answered last on the last question, so let's bounce right back at you.
You don't want to go
First dibs.
Captain Summary of the Resistance doesn't want to go first.
No.
All right. I think yes. I do. I think it will. I think they're not going to try to cross over. I think they're already kind of setting the tone into where these folks are going on purpose at the end of season 1, which we'll get to in a little bit after the pod race here. But I still believe in some sort of time gap between 8 and 9, and they're going to wedge the stuff for Resistance into that. And because we always say this on the podcast, we're not going to be seeing these characters in Episode 9. So where the heck are they? So it just all points in my mind. It all points to them not being involved with that the events of 9. So I think it's all going to happen before Episode 9.
Lacey, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't know if this was confirmed because I'm getting like my thoughts crossed, but if the rumors are true that Episode 9 takes place a year later to 3 years later, whatever the time gap is between 8 and 9, that's plenty of time to do multiple seasons of Resistance without ever touching 9. So that's why I think, yeah, they'll definitely... Star Wars Resistance will take place prior to 9 and will never cross 9 threshold.
Nice.
Dang.
2 for 2. James?
I'll be honest, this is I'm going back and forth. I think this is easily the hardest one because I could see both being great, you know, however they decide to handle it.
Right, and it could take place after 9.
Yeah, I think that if we want to look at Rebels as a template here, Rebels, even though it skipped ahead multiple times, like, you know, enough time had passed to give us kind of a more interesting look at the next season, it never did cross that line of A New Hope. And I'm not talking about the epilogue stuff. I'm talking about, you know, the actual show itself. It never crossed A New Hope. So then I start to look at Resistance, and I think that makes a lot of sense. But in the same tone, couldn't you say that you say 1 year is enough time, but I go, really? Because then you say like the events of season 2 happen over the course of like 3 months, and then season 3 has to like either pick up right where that left off or like can only skip like a month or 2. That doesn't seem like it gives much storytelling.
Star Wars has never done that.
You'd have to write 3 seasons in a year. I don't know. That seems pretty difficult. And I know that the fans at large are going to like, they're going to be hungry for that next season. My logical brain says no, everything's going to be before Episode 9, but my gut says I think that they're going to go over Episode 9.
Okay.
Just the same way as we thought Resistance was going to all stick before 7, and then even in the first season they broke that barrier. So all right, that's it. That's what I got. But the three of us are not the only people who have a voice in the Resistance. We also give opportunity to our patron generals once a month the opportunity to, if they want, we can pitch them a topic and they get a chance to talk on the show. And this week, our General Adam Odle was pitched the question or the scenario. In The Last Jedi, we saw Poe Dameron take on more of a leadership role in the Resistance, with Leia seemingly passing the baton to him. So what type of role do you think, or what do you expect to see out of Poe Dameron in Episode 9? So now we're going to cut to him, and when he's finished, we'll give him our thoughts on what Adam has to say.
Hey Resistance, Adam Odle here. You know, when we see Poe at the end of The Last Jedi, Leia really has put him in his position where he feels like the kind of the de facto leader of the Resistance now. And I think we're going to continue to see that role going into Episode 9. However, even if he is like the leader of the Resistance, I definitely don't think we're going to be seeing him sitting on a cruiser or at a command post telling people what to do. Poe's definitely going to be right in the thick of it. He's going to be going on missions. He's going to be in the middle of action. He's going to be there with Finn, you know, fighting against the First Order. So I think he's going to continue to play a prominent role. I think out of the big three, him, Finn, and Rey, I think he's right below Rey. I think as kind of like the number two of the good guys. So I think we're going to continue to see a lot of Poe. I'm excited to see him. I'm so glad that Oscar Isaac had the courage back when he was pitched the role to tell them, no, I'm not going to take this part unless you can get me into more of the movie. And here we are, from a 20-minute role in the first one that he could have had now to being a prominent character in all three of the sequel movies. So that's how I kind of see him and his role taking shape in Episode 9, and which I love because I think he's very charming and charismatic, and I think he does a great job of Poe, and the more Poe that we can get, the better, I think. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Keep up the great work, James, John, Lacey. You guys are awesome.
Okay, Adam. Woo! Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's wrong. I think like that it's pretty straightforward, right? He's gonna be the main guy in the Resistance. Lacey, I mean, you're not the biggest Poe fan, right? I know. I'm not. I know on Monday you were kind of sticking him on the lower end on the scale between Kylo and Tally Lintra.
I said at least he's above Tally.
Yeah.
I agree. I think Poe's going to have a bigger role. I just don't know if it's going to be as big as Adam is hoping it'll be. And we don't know we also don't know if he's going to survive 9. He might die.
No, he's not going to die.
Hang on now.
That's crazy talk.
So, Adam, I think you make good points. I believe I've said similar things. We're not going to see Poe sitting behind consoles. He's going to be in the mix, in the action, a little mix between Han Solo and Leia type of thing.
Yep.
You know, I've been saying, well, first of all, his future's so bright I had to wear shades. But I've been saying Poe's going to be the captain of the Millennium Falcon. He kind of maybe let that slip. So I agree with you there that he's going to be front and center. And I really liked what you brought up about how Oscar Isaac was kind of like, you can't kill me off in The Force Awakens. And here we go from a guy who's going to be knocked out of the franchise in 10 minutes to being one of the leaders of the Resistance. And I think he's going to have a really big role in Episode 9, perhaps his biggest of the trilogy. So I'm with you. Good takes, Adam. And thanks for being a general, as always, sir.
Yeah. I agree with everything that's being said. I think Lacey's right too about the. I don't think it's going to be as big as. No. About his role's going to be as big, but I think that he might. I think that when he gets his full on Resistance leader, that's at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah,
that's like third act, like when he totally takes it on, and by the end of the movie he's like, and this will never happen again in the galaxy, or whatever, you know. I
can't wait till Episode 10 in 10 years when him and Chewie are just like best friends, and he's like the new Han, and they're gonna be like old times. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. All right, that's what we got. John, you wanna introduce our discussion this week?
Obi-Wan once thought as you do.
Nah, let's get out of here. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, guys, we are going to talk about a lot of you asked us about this, so we are going to talk about it now that the show is done. Star Wars Resistance Season 1 has come to a close. We're going to do a little recap here and looking ahead. So, like I said, from how Season 1 progressed to where we ended up with the finale and where our characters took off. Obviously, this is going to be a spoiler discussion about Star Wars Resistance, so if you haven't watched yet, come back and check out the discussion, but I'm sure most of you have by now. Our characters were heading to Dakar on the Colossus, so they thought, yes, the Colossus can move. It is a ship. And it turns out Niku is taking them somewhere we have no idea where. So it reminds us very much of like an Ezra situation, except the difference is this show is not ending. It's pretty much just getting going. So then we're going to look ahead into potentials and speculate about Season 2 and where we think they may mesh with the events of The Last Jedi and that sort of thing. So guys, let's kind of hop into it right now. Resistance, for me, I'll just start off by saying I was not a big fan early going. I've been clear about that and honest about that. At the beginning, I thought it was very Looney Tunes. Kaz kept tripping on stuff and falling around. I felt it was too goofy, even for a kid's show. I felt like even my nephews would be like, come on, keep your feet on the ground. But then as the season first half ended, and that moment where Leia's calling him Kazuda, and he starts getting a little more responsible and taking off into the second half, it really drew me in and brought me on board. And seeing the events of the Hazian Prime kind of from a different point of view really added like almost like a 3D, third dimension type of way of looking at that event as though it actually happened. So that's my initial take on it. Guys, Resistance Season 1, what are your overall thoughts about it?
Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I did the quick, like, Patreon Resistance season finale reaction or whatever, and it ended up being like what I liked about the final episode, but like what did I think of this season overall? And like I think you're kind of right, John. Like I think that it definitely did surprise people. Everybody was like, is this going to be more like Rebels and Clone Wars, or is this going to be more like a kid show, straight up kids programming? And I think just about everybody was leaning towards, it's going to be a kid show, so it's not for everybody. But the people who have watched it, and a lot of people haven't, because that was the initial, vibe. They're like, you know what? I think this is one of those things I can pass on. This is a lot of content. But for the people who did stick with it, they're going, you know what? Maybe you should try it out. There is some cool stuff in here, and I think the stuff that's really cool, and I hate to kind of say it because it kind of cheapens the content that they're creating, but I think what's really cool is when it does cross over with the Star Wars that we know.
Yeah.
I absolutely love every scene in this when I see Poe and Captain Phasma. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I know what those characters are in real life, and it reminds me that this show, in live action, like, or whatever. It reminds me that that when I see Captain Phasma as an animated character, I go, yeah, but that's this live action character just being drawn, and that there is a live action Kazuda that we just haven't seen yet. This is just his cartoon version of a real person in this world doing this stuff, having to watch his home planet be blown up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just the show is good. I really like it, and there's a lot of spy aspect to it that I'm hoping. I think that's what a lot of people want in that Cassian Andor show. Right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And this is like the kids' version of that Cassian Andor show. This is a character who was put on this planet to spy, get information, deliver it back, and it's cool because they're like, I don't know what they're doing, man. They're occupying specific space in this region. Looks like they're creating an army, but the First Order, and then like it looks like they're building some sort of like hollowed out planet. Like what could this possibly mean? And that's cool, man. It connects back to what we know.
Oh, you're saying if you pretend as though you don't know, Star Killer's a thing. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, Lacey, I'm going to let you talk, but what do you have?
That's not gonna read well.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I am not the biggest Resistance fan, guys. I haven't been able to get really into it. I mean, there are bits and pieces like James said that are really cool about it, but I just haven't been able, like, it just hasn't gotten my full attention. I'd rather, read a book or get into the comics with characters that I know. And that's not to say that these characters aren't great. I just don't have the interest that I think other people do in these characters. I was most excited to see characters like Phasma again. And again, I feel like they didn't fully develop her in this show at all. And I feel like once again, she's being thrown down the trash compactor. And like, they had a chance to like kind of bring some life into that character and give us what we didn't get in the movie. And they just did exactly what they did in the movie. But I think that the way they work BB-8 in is really great. The hollowed out planets thing is just so cool. And that whole storyline with them discovering that is super cool. And then the way they worked in the whole Hux scene was just like utterly heartbreaking to watch. And it was weird, not because I cry at Pixar movies all the time, so it's not that weird, but the Hux scene with Kaz was super heartbreaking. And it's like James said, like you see it from another angle and you see how it's affecting someone directly on that planet. Whereas I feel like even in the movies, yeah, you understand it's the Republic, but you don't necessarily know who's on the planet. You just know that it's a planet. But other than that, like I'm willing to give it another try with season 2, but I just felt like John said, like it was really goofy at times in the very beginning. And I think that kind of just immediately I was like, I just need something with a little bit more substance for me.
You know what I wish they would have done though? I wish they would have developed a relationship with his parents better.
Yes.
Because only in the first episode do you see a blurred out, you can't even see his parents. You just hear his dad talking. And his dad's like, "You're with the extremists? You're crazy. And he's like, "I'm fine on my own, thank you very much." And then he hangs up, and we don't ever hear about his parents ever again until they're gone.
I just feel like
would have been nice in like a mid-season finale if he's like, trying to talk to him, or he has an opportunity to see them in person, or a photo of them that he's like, "Man, it sucks that I can't talk to my parents right now. I wish I could, but that'll have to wait. I have my whole life to talk to them." Yeah,
I also
something that would hit harder.
In general, I think they just introduced so many characters with this show that it's kind of hard to keep up with how many characters
something like Rebels, like all those characters were new. You know what I mean? There wasn't any like real reoccurring characters in the first season of Rebels, other than maybe Tarkin, right? Was in the first season for like a short little bit.
I think now looking back on this first season, that I think Resistance has developed more complex characters overall with varying personalities and varying motives and varying areas than Rebels did. Even maybe through season 2 of Rebels. I am really interested. I talked about this last week on the podcast. I think the Captain Doza thing, with the angle with his daughter, with Tora befriending Kaz, it's almost like a little Romeo and Juliet thing. Like you're not sure if he's with the good guys or the bad guys and what side is he on. And I think that's such a complex character for such a kid's show. And they sold me on it. It wasn't one of those things like, here's Captain Doza and go just buy his action figure because he's Captain Doza. It's like, no, I felt like that was a guy who's in Star Wars and he's playing a pivotal role by doing something that like Jar Jar Binks did, giving the power to the Emperor. You have Doza giving the power to the First Order to secure the Colossus. That is setting things in motion. He literally turned the Colossus boosters on, not literally, but figuratively, and got this thing going. Like characters like that really impressed me, and I don't think we got to see him fully take on that until the second half. And maybe that's a big part of why the show took off for me in the second half.
And world building as well, because you have ex-Imperial Captain Doza, whose best friend and correspondent, who the person he trusts most probably on all of the Colossus, is ex-Rebellion Yeager.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. I
know what I
forget.
mean?
I forget the Empire ties with Doza at times.
Yeah,
but yeah. That's a good point.
I think that Doza is a turncoat. I think like when he, like to some degree, when he saw like what was happening on Jakku or something like that, I think he stepped away from the whole thing and be like, dude, I now get what the Empire was. I don't want to have anything to do with it. And that's why he looks at the First Order and goes, no, I'm not letting this slide. I don't trust you guys. I know what you're all about. I was part of that. Get out of here. And I don't know. I mean, someone's going to correct me, but like, did we have that in Rebels? The only thing I can think is like, you have some complexity with like Kanan, because we knew right away that he was a Jedi, but he like turned from it. You know, that's kind of complex. Why don't you want to be a Jedi? Because he was afraid, you know, of being caught, and what he didn't want to become that person. So, I mean, I don't want to do this all day, but Rebels is like pretty much the only real comparison we have to Resistance, and people really like that show and really grew up with it, but people are unsure about Resistance. So it's somewhat fair to compare
the difference
how
is
they both started.
Jedi. You don't have Jedi in Resistance. I think that's a big thing.
I think that's
for
the
people.
other thing that's not sitting with me. It's like,
The
call
Force
me,
isn't there.
yeah, call me lame, guys. I love Jedi. I love lightsabers. I love the Force. So when something's not involved with that, I kind of just automatically be like, eh. But that's not Star Wars to me. And I'm not saying that like, this is my Star Wars. I'm just saying like, Star Wars to me is Luke Skywalker and Jedi and fighting with lightsabers and the Force. Like, that's
you know what
Star Wars is to me.
That is a great point, because this is almost like a test for some people. Like, how much can we get outside of the bread and butter of what people love about Star Wars, the mystical stuff, the Force.
See, but don't forget though, there's multiple sides to Star Wars. There's the war, the lore.
Yeah.
And I heard recently the corruption to the core, which is the like underworld stuff.
Of course,
and the
it's like having Harry Potter without wizards.
Right. Yeah.
To me, I'm saying to me.
Yeah.
Having Harry Potter movies without Harry Potter. How about that? Like,
but admit that you can have a Star Wars movie that is all politics and about the war and the rebellion and all that, but you can't really have that about. You can't have Harry Potter without wizards.
I'm saying you could. Hold on, I corrected myself.
Have Harry Potter without.
I said it's like Fantastic Beasts. It's a Harry Potter in-universe movie, but there's no Harry Potter. Therefore, I don't care about it.
Nobody cares about that.
I mean, that's closer to you're taking one aspect of it, but the whole world is this.
Sure, and people love those movies, stories. And people love the whole idea of taking these books that J.K. Rowling wrote that were basically textbooks and like short stories and expanding them into something bigger, which is wonderful. However, at the same time, when I think Harry Potter Wizarding World, I think Harry Potter. So it's the moment that Harry Potter's not in it anymore. To me, I'm like, well, I really like Harry Potter.
Yes. And that plays in terms
I worry
of
for you then.
But I will say this,
because like
this kind of plays into
Cassian Andor, Rian Johnson's trilogy, and Benioff and Weiss that might not be Jedi related. It might have the Force. That's fair.
I'm not saying I'm not giving him chances, but I think that's why I didn't connect with this.
This is going to play into what our discussion is going to be. Well, part of our discussion at our podcast at Celebration. So we probably shouldn't get too much into it in terms of what makes Star Wars Star Wars. Because when I look at Resistance, I'm like, well, I don't know, because there's troopers in it and because it says Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, other than that, it could just be any speed racer, any type of animated show, like, and with a conflict. Like, you're shaking your head, James, but like, what, nothing. If you watch this show in a vacuum and you don't know that it's called Star Wars Resistance and the troopers were in other armor, you would be like, oh, this is Star Wars? I had no idea.
Like, take the insignia off their outfits and take them out of Stormtrooper gear.
Put them in completely different soldier gear. And you'd be like, oh, is this G.I. Joe? Like, what is this exactly? So it is different. And to me, it's almost like a test of the waters for fans, not for everybody, because other stuff that we had from Star Wars that didn't have the Force and Jedi and stuff like that was Solo. And why do we like it? Because it's Han Solo and Chewbacca. You still brought familiar bells. You rang those bells. And you still had, the Empire. And in Rogue One, obviously, like people say,
Darth
Vader,
Vader,
it's such a
best
standalone
part.
movie. You had Darth freaking Vader.
Best
you had
part.
the Empire. You had Tarkin. You had the Death Star. It was loaded. So they still
And
haven't
Chirrut had
really...
the Force thing.
Right.
It was
They
there.
still haven't really stretched beyond the comfort zone yet. And I think Resistance might be the closest they've done it, but it's an animated show that hasn't had that large of an audience. And I don't think it's a super popular show, but I think people are kind of growing to it, and I think that's a good sign, but we need to see more. And like I said, I might not be the best person to go by because I didn't love this show from the beginning, but I will admit that they are growing on me, and I think the reason why has to do with the characters and the choices. And I think when I rack my brain, and I'll save this for our podcast panel at Celebration, to me Star Wars has to do with people and choices and relationships more than spaceships and empires and rebellions.
So okay. So you're saying I get that point, but I also kind of don't, because I want to push back on that a little bit. If this show doesn't have a lot of the things that ding those bells or whatever, but it has the First Order, it has the Resistance, it has
I guess
light speed, and it has droids.
Did we see the First
and it
Order,
has
really?
in Resistance?
It's almost like a low budget. Here's the First Order. Like, here's two more stormtroopers.
Well, the Hux scene.
Or First Order, I mean. Yeah, the Hux scene, but that's Force Awakens, Like,
yeah, but you have the shuttles that are constantly showing up. You have multiple characters. Okay, but you're saying you're not giving. Okay, here's my thing. But if there was one character
spaceships
on
aren't
Colossus
stories to me, dude,
that had some sort of light connection to the Force, and they were able to, in some cases, move some objects, then all of a sudden it becomes Star Wars. No.
Yes.
There's so much going on with the politics between the rebellion, or not the rebellion, but the Resistance and the First Order, and what all this means, and spying and be part of this political government war that's happening. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Star Wars. It's not Jedi Wars.
Call me lame. I just want to see lightsaber battles.
I just want to see mystical stuff that can't happen on Earth, We can have wars on Earth. We have them all the time. I'm talking about like with Star Wars. Like when George Lucas talked about Star Wars, he called it Star Wars.
You guys really think the rebellion and the fight for
Star
the galaxy is just backdrop?
It is. It's a 100% backdrop. It's all about these relationships and these characters, dude. That's what all it is. When you're watching a Star Wars movie, I guess my thing is
like I tune out when we get into like the politics of stuff. Because in general, I tune out.
You guys
politics.
are saying like.
James,
you're saying like Han and Leia are B characters to Luke's A, because it's Luke's story. Han and Leia.
What does that have to do with anything, though?
Because you're saying that the real story is about Luke and his relationship to the Force and all this other stuff.
That's not what I said at all. You just made that up.
I said I like Luke. I didn't say it was just Luke.
I'm just saying, when you watch a Star Wars movie and there's a huge lightsaber battle going on, and then they flip to a bunch of X-Wing fighters like shooting at stuff, you're like, all right, let's go back to the lightsaber battle, please. That's all.
You're nuts. You're nuts.
I wouldn't say that, but I would say that
you guys are saying Darth Vader's the best part of Rogue One, when like the whole battle on Scarif is what makes that movie amazing.
Darth Vader's the best part of Rogue One.
Definitely.
Hands down.
Dude, you guys are nuts. The best part of Rogue One is that hammerhead hitting the side of the ship and it crashing into the other one, which brings through the gate.
I guarantee people saw Rogue One
out of here
because of Vader. Guarantee.
Yeah. I'm going on at that. You guys suck.
No, all right, but back. Let's get back to True North here, which is Resistance, and
I think it was cute. It's a cute show. It's for kids. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could go in a very deep way into season 2, and I don't know where it's going to go from here. But I'd like to say that the way the ship took off at the end is super cool, because I didn't think it was going to take off.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that. It was
there's
very reminiscent of Solo. Like,
I'll say this looking forward, and because there's a lot they can do here, because the aces really were not featured at all. They were promoted to high heaven at the beginning of the show. They said the aces, and we got Steven Stanton back, which I love.
That
Steven
was another
Stanton.
pushback. You said this could be Speed Racer, and I was like, it's not about the races. The show isn't about the races.
But I'm saying these characters are now going to be featured more now that they've built up how we understand our protagonist and our antagonist. They're going to feature them a bit more in season 2, I think, especially now that they're leaving Colossus.
But not as racers, as pilots.
Right, exactly. So, but I'm saying when they promoted the series, it was like, it's a Speed Racer. It's like a pod race show. And what is this? I'm not saying because it doesn't feel like Star Wars, or it can, if you change the labels, it can be a different show, is necessarily a bad thing. I think it's good because they have to do it, because we do need to get beyond the Skywalkers, you know? I just don't know that everyone has their own definition of what makes a movie a Star Wars movie or a story a Star Wars story. I have mine, you have yours, and that's cool, and that's what works. I'm just curious what will work in terms of keeping everyone around. And that's, I guess, something we'll have to explore at Celebration, at our panel.
True dat.
You guys are nuts.
Well, do you have any final thoughts on Resistance in terms of season 1 heading into season 2? What do you think we're going to see in season 2?
Well, they said that they were going to jump to Dakar, and then they threw in this little thing that says, like, they're not going to, they could possibly not end up at Dakar. And I was piecing that together. I was like, yeah, I don't know how they would end up at Dakar. That doesn't make sense. So that's their little caveat, or their little caveat, I meant to say, is a way to say season 2 will not directly overlap with anything that's happening in The Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. They're going to be doing their own thing, and I have no clue what that could be. I mean, who knows, you know?
Yeah.
What was going on in episode 8? Actually, here's the thing. It's not about what was happening in episode 8. It's going to be more about what was happening between 8 and 9, and we just don't have any idea.
Yeah. I have my Lacey, do you have any thoughts?
Don't episodes of Resistance season 2 start before episode 9 comes out?
Yes.
We're getting a sneak peek at Celebration of season 2. So Probably. It's like,
that hasn't been confirmed.
No. Yes, it has.
Oh, they said they're showing an episode, or just like a trailer?
They said they're getting a sneak peek at season 2.
Wow.
That was it's on StarWars.com.
Which awesome. Sounds like an episode or a trailer for me.
Yeah.
That's
well,
what
if they're following the past, it's
an
episode, yeah. Okay, Lacey, any thoughts about, are you going to get into it? Are you going to try to catch up? Or, any thoughts on season 2?
So catch up isn't the right word, because I've seen a lot of stuff throughout the season.
Sure.
And I know everything that's happened. So catch up isn't the right word. Am I going to get into it? I don't know.
That's
Maybe
fine.
if Kylo Ren shows up. Or like someone... Or like, I don't know. You know what I'd find super interesting? If they went into who built the First Order and like...
Hey, Lacey, when Star Wars is over, are you going to leave like you left Hunger Games and Twilight?
Oh, James. You're
James,
so
you know
nice.
what? I think this is what's going to happen with
To
the
be
whole
clear
season.
to the people listening, I was never a fan of Twilight, so
I'm messing with you. I'm
there.
just saying it drives me crazy that you guys don't understand the like war aspect of it. You're saying it's about the relationships between the characters,
Okay,
like Han and Leia and stuff. And I'm like, relationships between the characters, Yeager and Kaz and Tam.
Yes.
You are crossing the streams
No kidding.
here.
That's what I'm talking about.
I literally said, I don't like this show because it doesn't have Jedi in it. However, I understand why people like it. And I also compared it to Fantastic Beasts. I never said it was bad. I never said that I didn't like what you just said. That was what John said. What I said was, I tune out when things get political.
Yeah. I don't care about spaceships. Like, I don't care what type of Star Destroyer I just saw.
I just don't like discussions.
Boring.
And if you're going to use an example, Hunger Games 3, Part 1 and 2 were terrible because the whole thing was like a marketing meeting and it was boring AF.
Yeah. Well, who cares about Hunger Games? But
I'm just saying, like, political discussion stuff doesn't entertain me, and I don't find the war stuff interesting. What I find interesting about Star Wars is, like John said, the characters. Luke's journey, Luke meeting Leia, Han's journey, what Han does to save the day. Like, that's the stuff that I connect with, not me being a part of a war. I'm not in a war, so I don't connect with that.
James is arguing against that, but that's what George Lucas said. What made his story successful as opposed to other science fiction movies that came out. It's his are about these people and these relationships. And even Carrie Fisher's one of her last interviews about Star Wars was that it's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it. So I'm not like creating this new thing that's what Star Wars is about. But anyway, we can have a Star Wars war about that another time. I do have one thing I want to pitch to you, James, about going into season 2. This, because you brought this up about when it happens between maybe 8 and 9. What if the distress signal, they like receive it, but they didn't get it because where they're traveling was the wrong place and it didn't reach them, and they reference it that way, and they go off somewhere else, and that's why
or they get it too late, you're saying? Yeah, so they're like, oh my God, this is from 3 days ago.
I bet they reference it in season 2 to start season 2 or something, like, oh, we had a distress call.
Or what do you mean it was off? What do you mean the distress thing was off?
Yeah, something like that. So look out for that. We'll see if that happens. But I'm curious to see where it goes. I'm excited. And clearly we just mapped out a potential future Star Wars war, but we definitely can't have a Star Wars war at Celebration. People start walking out of the panel. All right, guys, now it's time for Resistance transmissions.
Yay!
Which are different because we are the Resistance broadcast. So even though the show is called Star Wars Resistance, we're not talking about that anymore. We're talking about your transmissions.
Our whole show is a transmission.
The whole damn show is a transmission. So while the characters of Star Wars Resistance may not get Leia's transmission, we're going to get yours right now. So let's send it over to Lacey for this week's fun.
All right, guys, it's time again for Resistance transmissions. My favorite part of the show. No offense to the lovely discussion we just had. So every week, John goes on Twitter and puts up a crazy, wacky situation, and you guys give your answers, and I read them live on the show. I've never seen these answers, so we'll see what happens. So the situation is General Hux is about to go to sleep after a good day. He ordered the destruction of the Hazian system with great success. Great success. Yes, very good. Before going to sleep, what did Hux write in his diary? Summarizing his great day. All right. So the first one is from Brian Pothier at B Pothier, who is a patron. He said, "The Ginger Tarkin strikes again." That's his Twitter bio.
Ever heard him described that way, but that's pretty good.
So funny. Next is Jennifer Renzen at Jenny Renzen, and she put this in parentheses, with a pink puffy pen, like Clueless, I guess. He draws tiny Darth Vader chibi images all over and begins his passage with, "Dear Diary, I'm sorry I forgot to write yesterday." So if anyone doesn't know, when you're younger and you have a diary, you always start it and then you forget. So then you always write, "Dear Diary, I'm so sorry I forgot to write."
Jeez.
That's like a known thing, guys. For me, at least, that I'd always be like, I haven't written in a while.
All right, so Jenny made this seem realistic.
Yes. I'm just so upset that Kylo Ren still exists, but we'll show him. I got Snoke on my side. I bet Kylo trashed another room. Sigh.
Did people write sighs in their diaries?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I just love that she wrote, "Dear Diary, I'm sorry I forgot to write yesterday."
What's a chibi? What is that?
It's like a little mini anime. Chibi. I say chibi.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's
American
like a little
chibi,
anime. Yeah, it's like
Japanese chibi.
Anime character when they take the, like, Kylo Ren, the full character, and they make him the little mini Kylo Ren.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, very cute.
A good way to think of it would be like almost every pop vinyl is like a chibi character.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like they look childlike and small.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though they're adults.
Well, very clever, Jenny. Very good. I think she's with Dorkside, I believe.
Yeah, very good. I love that. I'm sorry I forgot to write that. Like, I feel attacked by that statement. All right. So Edmund Zippo at Edmund Zippo writes, The Hux Chronicles.
Get your handle.
Day one of our glorious enterprise. Killing father was pretty cool, I guess. Killing billions was even cooler. They were like, ah, and I was like, haha, die Republic scum. And then the lasers went, shvoom.
Fajoom? That's your laser sound?
That's what it says. And the planets went like, boom. Good day.
That's pretty good. And way to get your handle. I think this guy, when we first started the YouTube videos, he was like one of the first to always comment. So thank you.
Edmund's the best.
Thank you for commenting.
Way to get your handle.
Next is the Canon Cantina, and they used an image from the SNL skit. I forget what it's called, but it's I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
Stuart Smalley.
Yeah, that he looked in the mirror. All right. Next is Aaron Gould at I am Aaron Gould. I almost read I'm Aaron Gould. Lacey, note, he is a dude. Oh, I'm sorry, Aaron.
Lacey, no, don't read these notes out loud.
Well, I guess I need to apologize because I've probably said she for several episodes. I'm so sorry.
Last
Aaron.
week he's like, it's all good, but I'm a dude.
I'm sorry, Aaron. And I love that John put this in bold and caps. Lazy.
Resistance broadcast is thorough.
Very thorough.
All right. Aaron writes, today, while passionately delivering the goals of the First Order to a glorious sea of white armor, I shat myself. What? Why? Okay. All right. I tried to compensate for this by talking louder, almost frothing at the mouth. Fairly certain no one noticed.
She can't read this.
She can't read it.
I'll finish it. Except for Phasma. Pretty sure she knew. She always knows.
At least he's gonna have to start reading these ahead of time.
Yeah. I thought
God,
Hux was
so
indisposed after this, but Lacey can't either.
Man.
Oh, good. That's such a good one, Aaron. I'm so sorry I called you a girl.
That
Okay.
was good.
Next.
I'm sorry I called you a girl.
Next is Broovies with Matt at Broovies with Matt. And he says, quote, Dear Diary, I broke a blood vessel in my eye today from yelling so hard.
It looked like it.
Could you imagine
Oh, geez. Okay.
if
Next.
someone is positioned like his eye was bloody for like a week or something?
Next is Bruno Du Amaral at Bruno Du Amaral. He wrote, Dear Diary, that was a good shot. I wonder how I missed Kylo's starship, though. Next is Danny Two Porks. What? Danny Two Porks at Dan Parmesan.
It's my favorite rapper, Danny Two Porks.
At Dan Parmesan. He wrote, Dear Diary, oh my God, best day ever. Weapon works, Hosnian system gone, slightly worried. I spat when giving my speech, but I don't think anyone noticed. A lot of people don't notice things about Hux, I guess.
Yeah.
That was good.
Well, except for Phasma. She always knows.
She always knows.
Danny has a great name. Danny, I think you have the best name tonight. Danny Two Porks at Dan Parmesan.
I think Dan Parmesan's better.
Dan Parmesan is the album title.
Oh, okay.
From Danny Two Porks' first mixtape drop.
I like it.
And last but not least is Scott Gibson, parentheses, soon to be at Star Wars Celebration Chicago, parentheses, at Scott
See you
Gibby.
there.
I love Scott Gibby. He talks to me all the time on Twitter. What up, Scott?
There is a postscript of this too. You got to read it.
He says, Dear Diary, everything went so well today, and I'm pretty sure Snoke was watching. Heart.
Heart.
Our reviews are next month. And I just know this will push me into the 3% raise bracket. P.S. Kylo Ren sucks. All right, guys. I don't know how I got through that one. That was a good one. If you want to be on the show, make sure to follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN. Every week, John puts up some crazy, wacky situation. And then you guys give answers. Most creative, fun answers usually end up on the show, and you'll get a shout out, and I'll try to make it through your response. I'm sorry, Aaron, for calling you she for like weeks. Back to you, John.
Oh, mama. Well,
Hey, John.
in case you ever wondered whether or not Lacey reads those things ahead of time, there you go. That
Was that
fun.
not fun?
No, that was fun. That was good.
All
That
right.
was good.
Sorry, I forgot to write yesterday.
Thank you guys for sending those. Thank you guys so much for subscribing to us. And if you haven't yet, make sure you do subscribe to us. You can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, or if you're watching us on YouTube, how are you? We're almost at 2,000 subscribers, so hit us up there. Thank you so much to our patrons. Every week we have new patrons. We have new stuff we're posting pretty much every day. Every time we record a podcast, we record a new behind-the-scenes video and pop it up over on our Patreon page. Starting at $2 a month, you can join the Resistance as an officer on there, all the way up to Tier 5. And speaking of Tier 5, I want to thank our generals. We have 4 of them. Adam Odle, who you saw earlier in this episode, did a great job in the Patreon pod race. Thank you, Adam. Carmelo, a.k.a. a Gray Jedi. You'll probably see him on the pod race next week. Our newest general, Brian Shalito. Thank you so much.
Brian.
He promoted himself from Admiral. And, of course, Val Trichkoff. Thank you guys so much. Join the Resistance on Patreon. We really appreciate it. Again, patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast. Cup of coffee a month. Guys, you should always, every day, especially as news is starting to heat up, especially with Celebration around the corner, head to StarWarsNewsNet.com every day for your latest news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. Can't say enough about what we do over there. A real hard-working team. So go check us out when you're having your morning cup of coffee. You guys can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing and editing over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. And, of course, in 2 weeks from today, well, actually 2 weeks from yesterday, you'll see me in Chicago at Star Wars Celebration with these guys, and I'm sure they'll talk about it a little more. And, of course, our podcast panel Saturday, April 13th. Is that right? Yep. At 6 p.m. at the podcast stage. Come check us out. It's going to be a good time. Then we're going to be hanging out afterwards at the Arc Bar at the Hyatt immediately after our panel.
Hyatt? The Hyatt?
The hi-hat.
Hyatt!
The Arc Bar at the
Arc
Hyatt.
Bar.
At the Hyatt.
So right when our panel's done, we're going to be heading over there. So make sure you not only check out our panel, it's going to be a good time, but also come hang out with us after. We'll nerd out, talk Star Wars, talk to you about whatever you want to talk about, and have a good time.
Over at the Hyatt.
So with that said, James Bainey, where can people reach you when you're not speaking to them via the podcast transmission?
You can find me in the drive-thru line at McDonald's, because the other day I went to McDonald's and I ordered a value meal that I wasn't sure if it did or didn't come with fries. And then when I got my order and it didn't come with fries, I said, lesson learned, this one doesn't come with fries. But my wife said, I think it does. And I said, well, clearly didn't. I doubt they messed up the order. Then today I went to McDonald's and I ordered the same value meal, and I ordered an extra set of $2 fries. Keep that in mind. That when I got my order, I actually got 2 sets of fries, which was more fries than I could eat. So now I'm out $4 because I paid $2 for fries I didn't eat, and I paid $2 for fries I didn't get. So I started thinking about it, and I'm like, that's 2 whole months of Resistance Patreon for someone, you know?
Wow.
$4. So for $2, you can get a medium fry, or you can join our Patreon for a whole month.
That was a hell of a pitch right there. I'll tell you that. If you guys are still listening, Lacey Gillerin, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gillerin, where I talk about Star Wars and have a good time.
Yes. So keep everything in mind here. 2 weeks, we'll be at Star Wars Celebration in 16 days, you can see us live at the podcast stage at 6 p.m. Saturday, April 13th. There's no other panels going to be going on. Nothing else you have to do at that time. Come hang out with the Resistance live at Star Wars Celebration. We're going to talk about a lot of good stuff and have a good time. And until then, of course, enjoy your weekends. Start prepping for Celebration. Start packing now. Start ordering your Amazon Prime stuff. And we'll see you guys on Monday morning, obviously, as always, with another new episode right here on the Resistance broadcast. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you around, kids.
Bye.